All right, part four on our series in conditioning in baseball. We're going to go over different examples of how we can implement quote unquote conditioning into your baseball practices. So, first off, let's just keep in mind the energy systems that are being used during baseball, which is almost strictly the anaerobic, which is the max velocity sprint, max effort power, that system, as opposed to the aerobic, which is the long, slow distance, think like cross country runners, or just your mom jogging in the park, right? So um, let's also keep in mind that when it comes to our physical attributes, our max effort speed, typically, if it goes untrained, will start to decline anywhere 5 days plus or minus a couple. So let's call it 3 to 7 days. Whereas our aerobic fitness, again, that long, slow distance, cross country running type pace, can stick with us for a month, being untrained, okay, plus or minus a couple days. So again, keeping those in mind, which one's most important, which one is actually used, okay, should shape a lot of our thinking here. All right, then as we actually go into putting it into practice, let's also remember that we want to keep our work to rest ratio about 1 to 12 or 1 to 20. So if we do something for 10 seconds, right, med ball slams, jumps, whatever it might be, you then multiply that by 12. So if we do something for 10 seconds, okay, our rest should then be 120 seconds. That's 2 minutes, okay, at the minimum. Now you can kind of mess between the 1 to 12, 1 to 20, obviously depending on how many athletes you're working with, how many players you have, and just the time you want to dedicate it to in practice. Okay, but as long as we stick in this range, we're usually doing pretty good. Okay, so now let's go over specific examples of what we can do. So one really good and very simple, takes basically no equipment, is the 5 second sprint, right? And basically, the whole premise behind that one is, if you're on a baseball field, you can just start on the foul line and you set go, have your athletes sprint out as fast as they can, okay? And you have a stopwatch, count out 5 seconds. However far they get is however far they get. Okay, the whole goal is to try to get as far out as you possibly can, right? The faster athletes are going to get farther out, right? And obviously, we're training speed because the whole goal, you treat it like a race or a competition between everybody. Whoever gets the farthest gets the most praise, right? They're doing better off. Okay. And again, making sure we stick into the work to rest ratios. The adequate rest for that one is probably going to be right around a minute, maybe a little over. And now, where I'll get a lot of pushback on this from a lot of coaches is, well, okay, if I have my athletes run pulls, I can kind of just send them to do that. They can't really mess it up. I don't really have to pay a whole lot of attention to it. That is the laziest line of thinking I have ever heard in my life on multiple planes. A, you're doing your athletes a disservice. You're detraining them to the attributes that are actually going to help you win baseball games. And then B, that's just, you're actively telling me how lazy you are and how you don't want to participate in the full amount of practice with your athletes. Okay. But anyways, so due to the time constraints, what you can do, okay, obviously during, one athlete goes, or, a whole, whatever line goes, you have the whole group of athletes come back. Okay, obviously you're going to have more than one group going on this. So their rest time while they're standing there, the other groups are then going. Okay, and then likewise, that group comes back. And if you have how many other groups you have, okay, you kind of just keep cycling back. And if you do it well enough, right, they're standing around for the right amount of time, and pretty much right as they're ready to go back up, okay, their turn comes up. So 5 second sprint is a really good one. Again, how many reps, coach, should I do? Well, it kind of depends. You can start out anywhere 6 to 8, okay, and then kind of progress it to 10 to 12, 15. Really, how many ever do you don't really want to burn the steak on that one. Again, we don't want to turn it into our quote unquote traditional conditioning. Make sure you get the stimulus basically and get out. Now, one thing you can do is, if someone's distance really drops off compared to their previous reps, cut it. Okay, there's again, we've then burned the steak. We've kind of started to get into diminishing returns there. We've actually started to have a harmful effect. Another one we can do is just vertical jumps in place. Okay, this one you need absolutely no equipment for. You just have your athletes, get in lines and spread out so they're in a giant grid. Okay, give them a set go, and they're doing max effort vertical jumps for time. Okay, it can be 5, 10, 15, 20 seconds. Okay, whatever you deem necessary. Again, focusing on what energy systems we use, the anaerobic system is anything max effort from 5 to 30 seconds. So you have all that time to play with. Okay. And then everyone gets the same amount of rest period. It's really easy. Time's up, everyone stops. Okay. You have the appropriate work to rest ratio. When that time runs out, then they're going again. Okay. Very simple. No equipment. Everyone can do it at the same time. Very time efficient. Okay. Another really good one is med ball slams. Now, I understand this one obviously requires a little bit of equipment um, and might not be totally feasible for everybody, but this is an exceptional one. It's very low stress on the body as itself as compared to the impacts you'd experience in sprinting and jumping. But yeah, just overhead med ball slams. Again, going for time, as powerful and as many reps in a prescribed amount of time as possible. Okay, and again, clock runs out, appropriate work to rest ratio. The other athlete is going, whoever they're in a group with, they're going. So that way, everyone is doing something at all times, whether they're recovering or going. Right? It's a constant conveyor belt. So again, the whole coach, I don't have time to give athletes that much rest is just false, right? It's just wrong. If you actually take a minute to figure it out, right? It doesn't take that long to plan. Okay, you will start to see how time effective you can be with your quote unquote conditioning. So those are just three very simple examples. Take minimal to no equipment at all. And if you start to implement these and start the long, slow distance running, such as pulls, crowns, laps, whatever it might be, you're really going to start to see the overall freshness, the speed, the springiness, everything that you value in baseball really start to improve for your athletes.